Bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Stanton.
Hello, welcome to Chessy Hour. My name's Meads. I'll be your host for this one. We've got two guests. We're joined by Jay, infuriated Jay. What you saying, bro?
Yo, what's going on, bro?
You sound so downtrodden, man. So grief. And Joe, what you saying, brother?
Man, I had to leave work early today. I was sitting there from like 9 o'clock till like 11, fuming. Like to the point where people weren't coming up and asking me stuff. I was just sitting there. People could tell, like, did Chelsea get beat last night? I was just looking up like, let's not do this.
Yeah.
So about lunchtime, I was like, yeah, lads, I'm going home. I had enough.
Oh,
So yeah, apart from that, it's been a fantastic week. Yeah, it's been great apart from that. But...
Oh man, well, we can talk. We'll touch on the calamity, which was the West Ham game, a little bit later on in the pod. But firstly, we want to talk about a win against Leicester City in the FA Cup. First of all, Jay, what were your thoughts on the game? Obviously, a lot of talk was about Frank Lampard and his treatment of, his no-nonsense treatment of Gilmour, Mason Mount, and Reece James. Did you think it was justified, one? And two, how did you think the game kind of went? Because I feel it was a tale of two halves, really and truly.
Yeah, I think we looked really, really like sloppy in the first half. I think obviously we carried on with Kante at DM. Obviously Lampard played Billy Gilmour further forward, and Reece James came in, but I don't know. Like with Reece James, I wasn't too shocked because I think we'd all said like from when he had his little cameo before that against Villa that he just looked off the pace and he'd come back from an injury. So yeah, but still very, very poor from him, like in terms of just the way he carried himself in the game, and that it just didn't look great. And then with Gilmour, it was the weird one for me because I just feel like where he's been comfortable since coming into the team has been in that deeper role. So I don't know. He was probably caught off guard. I think people should not forget as well that Leicester are one of the better sides this season. I know they're on a slump now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're playing terrible. I don't necessarily think Leicester are playing like really bad. You're on mute, Meads. Meads, you're on mute. You're on mute.
My bad. Let me interrupt.
No.
The thing is with Leicester, what I think's happened is generally in the midfield play, it seemed to be doing quite decently. The general build-up's okay. Nothing's necessarily bad. It's just they're not able to be incisive enough or penetrate their defences. And as a result, they're not getting any chances to Vardy. And Vardy's movement and I guess his style of play has adapted a little bit. He's less, I want to say, troublesome to defences now because he only makes his movements when it comes to trying to get an opportunity to score. He's not running the channels as he used to. So the runs and then therefore the passes are very, very economical in regards to breaking teams down. So where James Maddison wasn't playing, he wasn't ever getting that pass. So he wasn't really necessarily threatening. However, they did look the more imposing side. They looked way more in control, and we couldn't keep the ball. And Billy Gilmour was a large part of that reason. And I wouldn't say necessarily that was just because of Gilmour. I feel like the midfield composition was all wrong. Generally speaking, when we speak about Gilmour and his qualities, Joe, you can come in on this as well. But when we talk about Gilmour, we know that his best position is in the deeper role. What was your thoughts, Joe, about why did you think Lampard put Gilmour as the 8 and Kante as the deep line player? Because for me, I'm baffled.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I first saw the lineup, I assumed that Gilmour was playing at DM and Kante was back at right centre mid. So I think it's possibly a continuation of Lampard trying to convert Kante into being more of a pure holding player. And I have heard previously about Billy playing as an 8, and I think when we've spoken about a little bit of lack of creativity and passing quality in the final third, I have seen certainly Billy play as a 10 and as number 8 for the academy, being able to do that sort of stuff. So I think maybe there was some logic behind that. But taking that step into the first team, particularly in that midfield. I think Tielemans was everywhere in the first half physically.
Yeah.
He didn't have the time, he didn't have the space, and I think the thing as well, people forget because he's had 2 good games. When it started going a bit wrong for him, it kind of compounded. It was a bit of a snowball effect. The touch was letting him down, the passing. I don't think it's really a reflection of him. You're playing 10 meters further forward up the pitch in this case. And his game for me is not about receiving the ball back to goal or playing on the half turn. It's about taking the ball, facing the game up, and then playing those passes. Being the distributor in the team, not someone who, like Ruben, who can receive the ball, turn, roll people, and go. I think Billy can do that probably in a couple of years' time, but at the moment for me he's more of a faith game and sort of try and dictate things. So a little bit weird, and I think the kind of Kante experiment that sort of is going on as well. I just assume that he'd be back at right centre mid. Combat Leicester's obviously the sort of energy they have in midfield and how they sort of like to play the game from there. As you say, they're not massive on build-up, but they're very big in terms of running and pressing and how they try and play.
It was very odd, because I saw the way it was shaping up. In the first 5 minutes, I'm thinking, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And I saw Kante dropping back deeper, and I thought, nah, this ain't it. This is definitely not it. And then there were some times where I'm seeing Mount drop deeper as well. So it seemed like they were like alternating, which was so strange. It was so strange, and I just didn't like how it was set up. I didn't like how it was building. I didn't like how we were building. Obviously, with Zuma and Rudiger at the back, I feel like generally our passing will be slower because they're not going to be wrapping it into feet or being able to find or progress a play or break lines. So generally, it was all quite haphazard back there. I wouldn't say we were fortunate to get in at halftime at 0-0, but I did feel like Leicester looked the more threatening, and as a result, we just looked abject. So our forward line looked quite poor. Pulisic again was a good threat, but in the first half, I didn't think he played particularly well. But that's not his fault because he didn't really get the ball, and the quality of passes that he was getting was poor. Because again, the midfield wasn't connecting, and it just looked dire, really and truly. So no surprises that Frank at half-time made the substitution. I was kind of surprised because I did think that, you know what, if Billy's having a bad game, then put him in a position where he knows best to play. So, but he didn't do that. And I guess credit to him. He brought on Barkley and Gilmour, Barkley and Kovacic. And Kovacic was fantastic. The moment he came on the pitch, I think he brought an element of control to the game. Barkley as well looked pretty decent. I felt like he kept trying to do things, and he wasn't as passive as I'd say Mount was, because Mount was buzzing around, but again he was looking a bit busy, but wasn't really anything of substance at all. But then when Barkley came on, he was looking to try and be a bit more incisive. But with the Barkley situation, you kind of saw a bit of what we talk about Barkley on this podcast all the time. You get some good things from him and you get some bad things from him. It's just whether or not you, as an individual, are willing to accept the flaws, like the downsides with the upsides. So with his goal, obviously, it was fantastic. Willian again with a great crossing, a great pick out from the right-hand side. And Willian, to be fair, he was quite poor that game as well. But again, he created a goal, which is becoming a bit of a theme for Willian in this side of the season. But yeah, good run from Barkley. And yeah, it was a good finish. But then, Jay, I kind of want you to touch on this because after his goal, Barkley kind of reverted back into the Barkley we know. Yeah, basically.
This is the massive issue that I think majority of people have. And I think, like, obviously a lot of people talk about consistency and all this kind of stuff. But I think in terms of consistency and performances, I think this season, when I've looked back, Barkley's been involved in quite a lot of good moments and good games that we've had. Fair. Mm-hmm. But there's also consistency in terms of doing the basic things very, very well. Mm-hmm. And Barkley struggles with that so much. He struggles with it a lot. Like, fair enough, he comes on, he scores a goal and he looks bright. And props to him for that. He did come on and he had a decent game. But remember, he's playing for Chelsea, yeah? We're meant to be a top club. So when you're at this top club and you're trying to be a starter for this club, yeah, you're trying to be a top player. This is what you want people to see, a top player. Those decisions that you get wrong for Loftus-Cheek, that can't happen.
Yeah.
That can't happen. It's too simple. It's too simple of a chance to mess up.
And if anyone's not quite up to speed with what happened, this was a 4 versus 3 counter-attack. We're transitioning well. Barkley picks up the ball. He carries it a couple of yards. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek is free. All he needs to do is slide it in front of him. And Ruben's got a shot on goal. Barkley's carrying it. And he passes it behind Ruben. Ruben literally has to almost break his leg to retrieve it and pass it back to keep the move flowing. And then Barkley has a shot. And it's saved. It was a good shot, but it was just such a poor decision. And I feel like what you see with Barkley, that moment, so from him scoring to that, encapsulates Barkley's career perfectly. Where he shows you good moments and shows you moments of quality, but then also shows you absolutely terrible almost like brain dead moments where he's not necessarily thinking about doing the right things, or he's overthinking, and it just is terrible. It's terrible play. It's so frustrating, and because I feel like Barkley in that moment, if he was to go on and give an assist and pass, do a good pass, that the game's dead. Game's done.
Yeah,
rest.
done.
Players can rest. You know, there's a lot more recovery. In terms of it will then have a snowball effect, and then it becomes very tense. So the game then suddenly becomes very tense. Leicester start looking threatening again, but again, thanks to Kovacic and Kante, they started doing a lot of dog work, and we managed to snuff it out and get the result. But it was just a lot harder than it needed to be. And I feel like the problem with our season, the problem that we've had with our season is the lack of clinical edge. And that's always been consistent. It's been a consistent.
Yeah, it's not just him,
Yeah, it's not just Barkley. Yeah. We can't blame that all solely on Barkley, because Barkley, again, is a squad player. Barkley's a squad player. So we can't... The problem is we can't start scapegoating squad players. And you know what we're like on this pod. When it comes to squad players, we have a degree of empathy and understanding that whilst they're squad players, they're not going to be fresh all the time. They're not going to be used to match rhythm, etc. So in Barkley's case, I wouldn't use that on him simply because I've seen Barkley throughout his career. So from when he's a starter to where he's a squad player now, this is what he is. This isn't, you know what I mean? This is what he is. What you see is what you get. But in terms of, so that kind of leads quite nicely onto, I guess, our match against West Ham. So obviously earlier in the day, Everton beat Leicester 2-1 at Goodison. And Leicester were abject again. They piled on the pressure late in the second half. But Chelsea had an opportunity to go 2 points clear of Leicester and solidify and secure pretty much their position in the top 4, and by moving into third. Leicester's got terrible fixtures coming up as well. And I felt like if we won that game against West Ham, that's top 4 done for us. I think we're secure. Generally speaking, I would have felt like, that's enough, because the London derby, you get momentum, generally speaking, and also you've overcome an obstacle, and that obstacle is Leicester. And I feel like every time we've had a moment to overcome or move on in a position, we've never taken it.
Yeah.
If you look at the form table, and if you look at our average position in the league in the season, it's been 4th, and it's never gone above that. And that's because it's not that we've never had opportunities to go higher, but every time an opportunity presents itself, we always fall down. And I don't understand what it is. Maybe Frank is right in regards to mentality, but at the same time, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because I feel like it's so strange that a club and a set of players can produce a performance like they did against Manchester City, where concentration was on 10 throughout, and then go against West Ham and look just devoid of ideas and quite abject. I genuinely felt like our attacking play was poor. And when I saw this, first of all, we'll start again and go back from the beginning of the match. So I saw a couple of names on the team sheet, which got me worried straight away. So, when the team was announced at 7:15, I saw a couple of names and I thought, "Ooh, okay." So I saw Christensen, I saw Rudiger, I saw Alonso, obviously Kepa, and Tammy Abraham. So Tammy was the real big concern for me because I feel like Tammy doesn't necessarily pose a threat. I don't think Tammy's a threatening striker. I feel like Tammy is he can be instinctive and a good instinctive finisher in the box when he has time. But beyond that, I don't think he's a goal threat or a clinical enough threatening striker. I think he can keep a defense busy, but I wouldn't say he's a threat. So immediately I had my backup thinking, "Ooh, we might actually be in problems here because I don't think we're going to score." And I also feel like with Christensen and Rudiger, Antonio's got more than enough PNP to give us problems. More than enough. So I saw that and I thought, okay, we're going to be in big, big trouble here. Big, big trouble. That was an hour before the game. So when the game started, Chelsea started off okay. We weren't special. It was all quite slow. And whenever we start quite slow, I always know that we're going to have a bad day. Because generally speaking, when Chelsea are intense and they're up for it, we tend to get the win. And you guys probably know on this pod that when it comes to a lack of intensity, I absolutely hate it. I cannot stand slow and tepid and timid football. It just doesn't sit right with me. You know, it doesn't sit right with me. And that's the same what goes for players. I don't like players that aren't intense and aren't at it. It frustrates the life out of me. So seeing like lackadaisical players like Alonso, Rudiger, and even Christensen to a degree, like on the ball and just the way they play in their actions, is just frustrating. But actually no, we'll go with Joe. What did you think of the lineup, and what did you think of like the first half? Because many will say that we're quite lucky to go in at half time. Many will before the goal, before half time, many were thinking that we were quite lucky to be in front. So
yeah, I mean, I think I'm very, very similar concerns to you, Mees, to be honest. You know, for all of Andreas Christensen's quality as a footballer, I still have massive reservations about him as a centre-back in the Premier League, particularly in the two. And I think the way Antonio just basically picked on him the entire first half and obviously the second half as well. But for the disallowed goal, the VAR goal, I think Christensen was all over the place. And I just to talk about this in detail, but
it is interesting with stats though, because the thing is when you're looking at games and you're looking at the stats, it's quite odd. So I feel like a lot of people said that Christensen had a bad game. I wasn't sure. I watched the game twice now, and I wouldn't say he had a bad game. I think he had two very bad moments, and I thought that's the funniest thing with Christensen. Like he can have a very good
moments.
game.
Yeah, you're right.
He can have a very good game, but then he will have two costly moments. It's almost like a David Luiz syndrome. I wouldn't say it happens as frequently, but it definitely happens with Christensen, where he has a moment that switches off, and that moment would be very, very costly. I could even cite a couple of games like the Bayern Munich game where he had two costly moments that literally made the game from 1-0 to 3-0. Like very, very bad moments. And again, with the second goal yesterday, just shocking really, because your concern is, I don't want to trod on Antonio after he falls on the floor. Then you completely forget he's there after a cross comes in. Absolutely boggled me. But let's pick apart the game bit by bit. So the first goal that we conceded, what do we say? What do we say about that? I mean,
can we start with the Rudiger moment in the corner flag?
That's the first goal. That's what leads to the first goal.
There are bits of play that stick out to me for just how comically bad they've been at Chelsea. The number one that always makes me laugh is that time Pedro dribbled from the halfway line and gave away a corner. That's like one of my all-time silly moments. They didn't score. This, though, was like on a completely different level in terms of incompetency, in terms of just how ludicrous it was. This is a professional Premier League footballer, a German international centre-back, who, like, I just like, thinking back to the clip now, I don't really know how to explain what he's done. He sort of won the ball, and instead of maybe giving away a throw-in or just actually maybe stopping, turning around and trying to clear it, he's just sort of like a little 5-year-old who's trying to control the ball, just sort of dribbled it off for a corner. And you look at him and thinking, like, this is that some people genuinely were touting as a captain for Chelsea.
Do you know
I
what
heard so many people shouting for him to be captain.
It was so odd because it was him and Kante, and presumably, like Rudiger does, he shouted and said, "Okay, Kante, this is mine. I've got it." So it's weird because you look at this and you think, okay, we've just had a goal disallowed like 10 minutes ago. And corners, the club knows you've been practicing corners all week because Frank Lampard said we've been practicing corners because we know that they're bigger than us and stronger than us. So we've been practicing defender set pieces. So you know they're a threat. And you know you're relatively weak from corners. You had plenty of time to sort your feet out and pass it out for a throw-in. You didn't even need to pass it out. You could have cleared it down the line. Yeah. You had plenty of time to do all of that. But he kicked it out for a corner kick under no pressure. Jay, I need to bring you in.
I've just watched it back again on YouTube. It's so bad.
Insane. It's actually insane. And before I finish this rant, all the Chelsea fans that was saying, because at the beginning of the season, we were having set piece issues from pre-season even. So on this podcast, we literally said, from pre-season, and I'm going to quote Palumi here, when it comes to set pieces, we are looking very, very shoddy. Very, very shoddy. And we were hoping that the coaching staff would have addressed this. We were expecting teething issues. So we said probably by December, hopefully it'll be sorted out. But then you had fans of even the podcast quoting us and saying, oh, once Rudiger gets back, we'll be fine. Once Rudiger gets back, we'll be fine. And I remember quite vividly saying, Rudiger is not the defender you guys think he is. Rudiger somehow has become our best defender by not playing. Somehow, Rudiger has elevated to this saviour status because he's not played. And it is no shock that our results have been up and downtrodden, really, since Rudiger's come back into the side. No surprise whatsoever. Our defensive solidity that we had with Tomori and Zuma has completely gone out the window the moment Rudiger has got back in. I find it boggling. Jay, talk me through the goal as well, because it's just ridiculous.
That first goal, I think it was like on about 45, no, it was on about 46 minutes and 30 seconds, I think, when we got a throw-in. And the throw-in, it went from, Alonso took the throw-in, it went to Tammy. Already, that's the wrong decision. Like, we're nearly there, half time, we're nearly there, yeah? Throw it line, bro. Yeah. Throw it away from the goal, not infield. Yeah. Alonso has this habit of going infield every time he's got the ball, whether it be a pass, whether it be a throw, whatever it is, he just passes it back inside all the time. Doesn't care if there's two players around you. Doesn't care. If
he never looks anywhere.
He never looks. No awareness. He throws it straight in. So that's the first thing.
We say all the time, like Alonso, he takes no due care with anything he does apart from shooting. Like, he has no due care. And it was put quite perfectly by Ashley Cole yesterday on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
You have to want to defend. You have to want to do the work. You have to want to do stuff. You can tell Alonso doesn't actually give a damn about anything apart from shooting and scoring.
Bro, he throws it into Tammy, yeah? Tammy controls it. But obviously, because he's under pressure, he's just kind of like knocked it back again. Like, that's not even his strength, innit? Yeah. Tammy's been playing shocking the whole game. He's tapped it back to Alonso. Now, Alonso's just, again, passed the buck to Kovacic, and the Kovacic's got no options. So he's tried to go in field. And Fornals has intercepted it, and he slid the ball down the line, yeah, for Rudiger.
Mhm.
Now, Rudiger's in a foot race with Antonio, and he's been doing this all game. To be fair to him, he had a few foot races where he won. Like, he won against Antonio. But this time, I think he even wins this one, and it obviously pops off now. But what I don't understand is, he has two options. You can just clear it for a throw-in, whack it the first time, just clear it for a throw-in, or you can even try what most players do in that situation and try to hit it off the player.
Yeah.
Simple as. That's like basic shit. And then what he tries to do, he tries to take his time. I don't even know what he was doing. Oh my God.
It legitimately made no sense. And when I saw that happen, one, I knew it was a goal. I absolutely knew it was a goal, because when those sort of things happen, Chelsea are always punished. Always
all over the
punished.
place.
I mean, I wouldn't even say it's unlucky. I just whenever those kind of moments happen where things happen where they shouldn't happen, we are always punished. And it's almost, and I thought, to be honest, I thought we deserved it. I thought we deserved it.
It was coming,
it didn't come in all half.
The things for me, I was hoping we get into half time and obviously secure the result, like secure the 1-0 at half time. But it was coming, we deserved it, and players like Rudiger ultimately will always cost us. Now, where do we even go with the defensive the marking, right? So obviously Azpilicueta, there's a comedy of errors in that goal in the corner.
Yeah.
So let's break them down bit by bit as to why, because people are saying, oh no, certain people can't be blamed. How can you blame Kepa? How can you blame this? I'll break it down for you, because I feel like a lot of people watch through like tinted glasses, so certain players are immune to criticism. For me, I don't care who you are. I will criticize you. It doesn't matter, right? I don't care if you're a fave or whatever. It don't matter to me, really and truly. So we'll break down a goal. Cross comes in, great corner. But it's not an unstoppable one where it's like routing ahead of someone. But let's work. So Azpilicueta, who is 5'10", I believe, is on one of the biggest players on the pitch. I don't know his name. I think he's a new West Ham signing.
Some lanky centre back.
Very tall guy. But cool. Azpilicueta is 5'10". This player's 6'4". Now, Tammy Abraham is 6'3", but he's on the line, on the goal line, which is odd, because Chelsea strikers notoriously have always been the player to attack the ball. So I don't know. It's not making any sense to me. This is from Sarri. This is from Jose. This is from Conte. This is from. We've always done this. We've always had the centre forward spare to attack the cross whenever it comes in.
Yeah, that front post area.
Zone, if it comes into your zone, you attack it. So why Tammy's on the line, only God knows. But also, why Tammy is not on the 6'4" centre half or centre midfielder, and Tammy's on him, is shocking. So one, that I blame Lampard, because that setup, and actually, I'll blame Lampard if he did not instruct Tammy to mark him. I'll blame Tammy and Azpi for not sorting that out on the pitch if it was instructed, right? So if Tammy was instructed to be on that guy and he wasn't, I'm blaming Tammy and Azpi, right? Cool. Azpi as captain, right? You're seeing that you were struggling in the first instance with him.
Exactly.
You then pull the spare man who is Tammy and say, look, I need help here. Let's not, and then we'll talk about Rudiger as well. So Rudiger, for both the disallowed goal and the second goal, and the first goal, shocking, because he was just standing there. The ball's flown right over his head. I'm like, how is this possible? Again, people say, oh, he's our best centre-half. He's the best in the air. No, he is not. Rudiger is actually shocking in the air. If I told you that Rudiger only won 2 of his duels yesterday, aerial duels yesterday, you'll tell me I'm lying. Chris Jensen won double. And Chris Jensen's not great in the air either. So, Rudiger, shocking, yeah? But again, it wasn't directly, I'm not going to directly blame him. But if you are attacking the space, and he is the free man now, so it's not Tammy at this point, it's him. But if you're the free man, you clear that ball. because it didn't go way over your head. It just brushed over your head. That's poor. That's poor. You mistimed your jump. You failed in your job. Poor, but cool. Where is Kepa going? Where is
Kepa was going for a walk. Kepa was going to the shops. Kepa, I don't know what he was doing.
And then there's Kepa. So then there's Kepa.
Oh.
Then there's Kepa. So Kepa, who couldn't even punch someone that he hated the most. It's embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing. He tries to go for it. Then he's like, oh, you know what? Kante's there. So Kante, like, it's like, there's two players. So Kante's on a player. He tries to go for a punch. He can't go through any of them. Why? Why are you not able to wipe out anyone? Like, it doesn't make any sense. We've never had a goalkeeper that is so incapable of coming out for crosses, ever. This is actually diabolical. We've never had one. We've never had one this bad. We've actually never had a goalkeeper incapable of coming out. We can go from Carlo Cudicini, from Ed De Hoy. We can go to anyone that we've had as our first team goalkeeper. We have never had this. So he comes out, he flaps at it, then goes back into goal, and that header was so tame.
So slow.
I don't know how it got past Kepa, but in fact I do, because Kepa was out.
It's Kepa.
So as usual, Kepa's out of position. But then Tammy Abraham. So I'm not gonna only blame you or blame the setup for you not being on this tall guy anyway. But the ball literally trickled over the line. And I say, how many times has the ball trickled over the line against us? How many times?
It's been there quite a few times this season, yeah.
It is insane. So the ball has trickled, and Tammy, why are you falling over? Like, you have more than enough time to attack the ball and get it away, yet you decide to fall over and clear it. What are you trying to dramatize? It's like he's trying to dramatize like the clearance.
Full on Ashley Cole style, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know when someone clears the ball or does a last minute save and they try and make it acrobatic and dramatic.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. Cause I'm thinking, what are you actually doing?
You know, with the goal, with like, obviously with Aspie, like, he does what he can to put the guy off, and he actually does quite well, because if you look at the header, the reason why it was so tame is because Aspie did his job the best he could, right, in terms of getting into his body, making sure that he can't get a proper run on it, right, and like getting as much power on the header as possible. But you see Kepa. To be fair, I'm being a bit harsh on Aspie. I'm only blaming him because I feel like if you were to swap positions, then 100. It could have been avoided. But then I'm being slightly harsh on Aspie. You're right, Jay, to be fair. No, but that's a shout anyway, because like you said, you're captain, you sort out, if you're uncomfortable with something, you sort it out on the pitch. And this is that whole thing of like people saying, but you know, the manager can sort it, like what could he do at the time? He can't get involved in the game or whatever. Like you said, he's captain. As a captain, you're basically the manager on the pitch as a captain. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what you're meant to do. So if the first goal from VAR we've spoken about Aspie and his leadership qualities. We know he's not a leader. We know he's not. Vocally, I don't think he is that guy, and that's why things like that, when you're expecting things like that to happen, they don't happen, because he is one of those guys that leads by example. Yeah, in terms of performance. But in terms of the goal, the first goal that got chalked off by VAR, the same setup happened. So Pulisic ran around the back post. He got onto it, and then obviously they fall over, whatever, knock it in, it gets chalked off. So that's the first time. So now you already know, cool, that's happened, you've struggled. But you haven't decided to change it. Cool, you don't change it. You do as well as you can to put him off. And I think Aspie done quite well in that situation, considering the header. When you actually look at the header wasn't actually that threatening. But this is where Kepa needs to take responsibility, because you've tried to come out and punch the ball when really and truly, if you just stay on your line and you stay on your line, that probably just goes right into your body, right into your hands. Maybe not, because it's Kepa. So maybe not. Maybe not. like those kind of things, I just think, yeah, it's just really, really poor. Like, so many decisions leading up to that goal were so poor that it just definitely highlights the lack of leadership we have everywhere in very important places on the pitch. Yeah. Goalkeeper, in terms of even like to a degree as a captain, as a centre back, like major like positions, important positions at the back where you need leadership, and we don't have any of it.
Do you know what's incredible, yeah? So what I've decided to do, yeah, is when I'm looking at the running, I'm not even looking at the fixtures. I'm not even looking at necessarily form. But what you do, yeah, I implore any Chelsea fan to do this, is to go through the spine of each side, yeah? And then look at us and then tell yourself, do you think we'll get top four? And I'm going to ask you, and I'll say this because if you go down the spine of Wolves, you've got Rui Patricia, you've got Cody, you've got João Moutinho in midfield, you've got Neves in midfield, you've got Don Decker in midfield. Strong, solid spine. Then you've got Traore, and then you've got Jimenez. That's a solid spine, right? Manchester United. De Gea, who is not in fantastic form, but still light years ahead of Kepa, right? Maguire. Pogba. Matic, Pogba, right? Fernandes, I wouldn't say he's a part of the spine, but, you know. And then you've got a Rashford or Martial. Chelsea. Kepa Arrizabalaga. Rudiger. Kante. And Tammy Abraham.
That is literally the spine.
That's our so-called spine, right? So how is every segment of our spine failing?
And before Kante was
and Kante, I wouldn't even say that he's failing. Kante is doing a job there. He's doing okay. I wouldn't say he's been fantastic.
That was Jorginho.
Yeah?
That was our spine. Okay. That was our spine, bro.
So even if you bring in Jorginho, and say, like, you know, the Jorginho Abbeys out, bring them out, whatever, even if Jorginho as part of our spine,
right.
Are you not actually all right? Are you thinking about what we're seeing right now? So I look at things and I say, look, objectively speaking, there are certain things that can't run, right? Certain players don't deserve to be at our club. Kepa, we carried him to the Europa League final. He had one moment in terms of saving a penalty, but we carried him. Yeah, we won that because he barely had to make a save. In the final, he barely had to make a save, so we won that. Cool. In terms of the Carling Cup final, well, we all know what happened there. He shouldn't play for our club. He's nowhere near good enough. He's nowhere near good enough. Someone had the nerve to say today, oh, based on what? Me saying that Kepa's not good enough. They said, based on what? I said, excuse me?
Every observable on the planet. Every observable metric.
Every single observable metric that is possible for a goalkeeper says that he is nowhere good enough. Even in terms of distribution, it is at best decent. Decent. It's not fantastic. It is nowhere near good enough for you to think, you know what? He's not that good in goal, but because he's so good with his feet and he is so critical to what we do with the ball, that we can allow it. Nowhere near. Nowhere near. So you've got one in Kepa who cost £72 million, who is by far and away the worst bit of transfer business in English football history, period. Nothing comes close. Not Fernando Torres, not Shevchenko, not Andy Carroll, nothing. Not Kleb, not Kleberson, none of it. Not Jemba, nothing comes close to this deal. Nothing
the
comes
old school's coming up.
And do you want to know why? He cost £72 million, right? We've offered him a 6-year contract?
7.
We're making the second highest paid player in our club, right?
Insane.
What?
Actually insane.
What is that? How is that making any sense? Just from a business perspective, that is just horrid business. And he was an unproven prospect. prospect, unproven. These times that even in Spain, they said he was unremarkable. Every scout report that was on him said unremarkable. It made no sense. The sign made no sense. Because I remember when we signed him, I sent an article and there was a detailed analysis of Kepa and his strengths and weaknesses. He had no strengths and his weaknesses were very apparent. So when I sent that scout report to Sof and I said, this could be a big mistake here. From the first game we saw him against Arsenal, what happened? Weak wrists. It was on the scout report. His shot stopping when it comes to getting down low to the right hand side, poor. Lo and behold, it's been a feature of his game. That right hand side of his weakness, clear as. So then you're thinking, okay, maybe he'll improve. But that optimism, really and truly for Chelsea fans, shouldn't have lasted 2 years. And that's what it is. People are saying he'll get better. He's 24. People are saying he'll get better. The optimism is still just 2 years. How are you not see? Like, why are you not opening your eyes and literally seeing what is before you? Mm. That being said, I'm not blaming Kepa for the loss. No, I'm not. But over the years, a winning football team, any football team, in fact, any winning football team that goes on to do stuff, a goalkeeper should be able to pull something. Yeah. Not everything, but something out of the hat where they save you with a save and you're like, fuck, yes, you've saved us. How many times has Kepa done that?
I can't think, me, to be honest. I mean, I'm thinking immediately back to when Courtois first signed. He had that 1-on-1 with Vardy. Was it against Leicester in the Prem or one of the Leicester strikers? I'm thinking, oh, this is a goal. Courtois comes that bang, safe.
You know what I mean? So you look for a moment where a keeper saves you. But Kepa doesn't provide that whatsoever. And I don't think any Chelsea fan can look anyone in the eye and say, you know what, Kepa inspires that. Kepa definitely, when it comes to a moment where, a clutch moment where he saves you and saves a result. Never. This is the 5th time. Yeah? This is a stat. It's the 4th or 5th time that Kepa has conceded with every shot he's faced on target.
I don't know if you guys realise it. It's mad. And the thing is, I don't know if you guys, but I always see, Rudiger badding up Kepa. I always see it.
Yeah.
All the time, I see Rudiger turning around and badding up Kepa. Not to mention, like, it's bad enough that Rudiger's bad, isn't it? It's bad enough. Like, you've got a player that's so crap in front of you, turning around and telling you what to do when you're the one that can see the whole game. Do you know what I'm saying? And this just tells me everything you need to know about Kepa. Because no way, any keeper that I've ever spoken to or played with, they've always been that they don't take no shit, bro. Like, that's their goal. Do you get what I'm saying? That's their baby. Like, they're protecting that. So if they're telling you to do something, you do it, innit? But with Kepa, I don't even feel like he's even telling them where to position themselves. No. He's not telling them time. You know, he's not telling them, like, where the man's coming from, where to put the ball out to. He's not saying a word.
Jay, I've got a question for you, Jay, quickly. So, like, Jay won't, like, mind me saying this, but he's probably played pretty decent standard football compared to people who do podcasts. And one of the things I want to ask him is, if you have a goalie who you know behind you is pretty dreadful, how does that affect the confidence of everyone playing ahead of him? How do you feel? Because I know you played left back. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, 100%. It makes you much more nervous because you automatically know you try to overcompensate to make sure that the keeper's not what do you call it? The keeper's not exposed. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes you might start second guessing what you're doing, or even in corners, for example, when you've got the amount of confidence it gives you as a defender, when your keeper alone just comes out and takes all that pressure off you. Do you know what I mean?
Are you forgetting? So remember when Courtois first replaced Cech, and everyone was asking, oh, Cech's a legend, you know, we shouldn't really replace with Thibaut, but Thibaut did so well at Letty. Cool. The first game, game 1.
Pluck.
Corner out the air. He comes out, pluck. And I think it was against Everton. I think it was, no. It wasn't against Everton. It was against Burnley. was against Burnley, game 1.
Yes, it was Burnley. Yeah, because
It was
Costa
Burnley
scored that
game
game.
1,
Yeah.
right? And they scored a great goal early doors, but no fault of anyone. It really, the ball just popped out and it was a volley.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment just before it almost went 2-0. Well, it wasn't almost, but they had a corner. And this was the first time in Chelsea colours you saw Courtois come out and claim the ball. He came out because the first goal came from a corner and the ball popped out and they scored. So then you're worrying about, what's going to happen again? Courtois came out, grasp. From then on, it was all over. Because Chelsea just started playing, popping, and this is where we scored that great goal. Costa, we had a corner, Costa, bottom corner, it came out to him, popped out, 1-1. Second goal, the great Schürrle goal, team goal, 2-1, game over. So
And it goes back to as well.
That's the thing, those moments as a keeper can literally have a transformative effect on the team.
On your whole performance. And the thing is, what Kepa does now, and what we have too many of in the team now, are players that make the opponent confident to start trying things.
Yeah.
So what they do now, they look at Kepa and they say, whip it in, get as much whip on it as possible.
Yeah.
Don't worry about who it goes to, just whip it in, good delivery, and we'll get a goal from this lot.
Yeah.
And they look at Alonso and they say, if you want to choose which side to go down, you know what? Go down Alonso's side.
Yeah.
You'll get past him. You'll get past him. And sometimes you won't even be there. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like you've got a combination of
calamity.
It's actually insane.
So then cool. So then the Kepa, the first goal, there's a lot of blame. So I'll blame Rudiger for giving away the corner in the first place was stupid. I'll blame the Aspi Tammy debacle. I'll also blame Kepa heavily for coming out and not wiping out everyone and getting that ball away. And then I'll blame Tammy on the line, who was embarrassing.
Yeah.
In terms of his overall performance, Tammy Abraham, diabolical, shocking, abject, and quite frankly, I want to say disgraceful, but at the same time, I somewhat feel sorry for him. But then at the same time, look, you've been thrusted into this position as our number one striker, and by hook, by crook, or by just desserts, you scored your goals, you've done your job. Ultimately, once you've come back from the break, you've been poor. To be fair, even before the break, you were poor. So the confidence that was instilled in you is obviously ran empty. Giroud's come in and looked infinitely better. So when Tammy started, and I saw his name on the team sheet, I'm like, we're in trouble. Because the moment that you play against the deeper block, right, you need Giroud. Giroud against a deep block where you've got most of the ball, it's a no-brainer. You play Giroud. Giroud. There was no space for Tammy to operate. There was nothing for him to... He couldn't do anything. And when it comes to link up, hold up, everything was baggy. His touch was baggy. His passing was off. I remember there was a moment in the first half where Tammy just needs to square it to Willian, and we've got a cross on, and Pulisic in the box. He passed it out for a throw. It's just, no. Poor. Tammy, absolutely poor. Now, we'll talk about Willian. I want to talk on some goods, because we've been quite negative so far. Pulisic. Let's talk about Pulisic. So again, we had some comments in the chat and on the timeline as well in regards to Pulisic and about his, not necessarily renaissance, but his coming of age, really. And Jay, obviously, I know you're a big fan of his. But when it comes to Pulisic, pretty much, again, everything said about the kid is that, again, if he adds a bit of intensity to his game, he'll be a big, big problem. And now he's added intensity. You can see he's a big, big threat, and quite evidently and clearly our most dangerous player. Jay, what did you think of Pulisic's performance? And for me, really, I felt he was quite unlucky to be on the losing side. But what did you think of his performance? He didn't score today. Score against West Ham. But what did you think of his performance?
Yeah, to be honest, the first half against West Ham, I was like I could see he was getting some nice touches here and there, but it just wasn't enough. And again, I'm going to stay consistent, because when you're at a club at level of Chelsea and you want to be deemed like this dangerous top player, you've got to do much more than what he did in the first half. But he obviously had that chance where it just went wide. And when I saw that, I thought, you know what, this is looking like it might be one of them games for him, you know, where he kind of like, he looks kind of bright and he looks like he's trying to do things, but he might kind of fade out of the game.
Yep.
But what I was impressed with is that second half, and I always remember what Pell said about Pulisic when he said, I think on the last pod that we did, or the pod before, he said that when Pulisic starts feeling himself, he's a problem. And I think in the second half, I don't know what clicked for him, but then he started really like getting a feel for the game, started picking up the ball, driving at the defenders a little bit more.
You see, that's the thing with Pulisic. You think, look, he's got the minerals to like. One thing that we pointed out quite early on with Pulisic is that he's a worker, right? And and he's a fighter as well. So not necessarily on the pitch, but in terms of mentally and mentality-wise. So if he has a setback, he's more than happy to respond. And that's a great quality, right? But again, the biggest issue that I've always had with Pulisic is his lack of intensity. But in that second half, you saw a player that had the grit, that he had the bit between his teeth. And Joe, in terms of that second half performance from him, I wouldn't say that it was Eden Hazard-ish, but I'd say it's as close as you could possibly get without obviously the incredible ability, but a one-man army type situation I felt like I was seeing with that Pulisic performance in the second half.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, actually. I think he sort of very talismanic, you know, in sort of the way that he kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck in the second half in particular. I think on Pulisic, just some comments I've seen on social media towards the account. When he came to Chelsea, I think the reservations were, and I think probably for all of us, and probably to varying degrees, is that I don't think any of us really kind of knew what player he was. He didn't have goal numbers, he didn't have massive assist numbers. I don't think he really had like a defined style of play when he came here. And that for me is always something that worries me when we get a player and it's not clear, like if you're getting a Timo Werner, he's a goal scorer, he does this, you can identify like really clear characteristics that he has. I think over probably the lockdown period and the past couple of games we've seen, I'm starting to see that identity now with Pulisic. As you say, I think it's now, as Jay was saying, it's consistent. It's about having that bright patch that he has in the game, having that for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, you know, instead of like 10, 15-minute spells that he has. But the second half in particular, he, for me, looked like the only player capable of actually doing something. And when we look at the you know, if you were to grade the players, you know, I think probably him, maybe Willian because he scored 2 goals, but Pulisic, probably the only player really who could leave that pitch with his head held high. His touch, his dribbling ability. And you know what I love about him? He's just direct. You know, I think Hazard was great to watch because he toyed with people and he had that just insane ability to make stuff happen for him. Pulisic is different, man. He just gets the ball, drives at people, direct. And you can kind of see now what the sort of player he's trying to become. Little times in the group chat, I think that he's learned so much of Pedro this season in terms of the player that he's trying to be. You know, he's the only winger we have who wants to run in behind. He could take it to feet. He's got that nice ability to finish. So if he's trending towards that kind of player, you might kind of, at least in the last couple of performances, I think that is where his game is heading. That for me is a massive positive because I wasn't particularly high on him coming in the season. If he finishes the season with this kind of form, then he's a weapon next season. But it's all about consistency now. You know, take the game by the scruff of the neck, but longer periods now. That's what he's got to start aiming for because I think he's got the skills to be a top player.
Well, the thing with Pulisic, right, is from what I've noticed, especially, is I feel like before the lockdown, I felt like he was on the periphery. So he wasn't necessarily a nailed-on starter or someone that you could say that you're going to rely upon because his injury issues, generally his play wasn't great. He did have some contribution. We're not going to completely disagree or dismiss what he was doing, but he wasn't a consistent enough threat or consistent enough presence in the match to be playing week in, week out. But what I feel like this break presented him and quite a few other players, to be honest, an opportunity to really stamp their claim on positions that were open. And I feel Pulisic has taken it by the scruff. And obviously now we've got, I guess, We've got a wide player in Hakim Ziyech coming in. Obviously, got signed Timo Werner. And we're looking at Kai Havertz. That's 3 forward players. And instead of sulking, instead of moaning, instead of downing tools, that some may argue that Tammy has,
Yeah, good point.
Pulisic has taken every game that he's been in pretty much by the scruff or tried to. And I don't care if you do it or not in a game, really, truly. Because as long as you try to do it, I'll have no issues with you. As long as you put in the effort or try and do your max, I won't have an effort. Ultimately, your quality may lack, but if you're trying to and you've got the capacity to, I'm not going to have an issue. So Pulisic, 1,000,000% has used this opportunity, this break, to really take things by the scruff and at least force his way into Lampard's thinking for next season. At the very least.
It's so different though to earlier in the season, and that's what I wasn't quite understanding with some of the comments towards obviously stuff that we've said. Is I think if you think that you're watching the same player from August, September time, I don't know what kind of games you've been watching. There are games that he's even the Burnley game. I think he scored 3 fantastic finishes. But if you were to watch highlights and those goals went in, I don't think you would have picked him out as a player on the pitch. Yeah. But now I think he's become a noticeable player. His impact is tangible. You can see that he's impacting the game. And teammates now, I think we're actually looking to him as an outlet for the ball, whereas before it was like, if it gets there, it gets there. Now it's like, let's feed him, which is a lot different.
For me, the game against West Ham, I think was his best performance or best half of football for Chelsea.
That's a good shout.
I think clear as day. Because regardless if he didn't score, I don't think he scored. He didn't score, but every time he got the ball, he was creating danger. Every time he got the ball, it was like warning signs to West Ham. He kept pushing them back. So that was definitely for me his best performance, or his best half at least, at the very least. Obviously, the goals aside at Burnley, the goal against Man City, I could put that all aside.
It was more impressive.
Actual performance, because those were moments. He had great moments in those games. But in terms of performance, as in piecing everything together, for me, this was his best performance.
I think the reason why it was more impressive as well was because we were kind of struggling to get going, and we were struggling to get things going. Mm-hmm. So it's like when Pulisic was he was literally trying to just carry us on his back in that game in terms of creativity and trying to make stuff happen. And the only reason why I reckon we didn't win that game is because we probably had, people like, as well as Willian did, for that free kick. I'm not going to lie, that free kick was crazy. But as well as Willian did, he actually had a very shocking game.
He did.
Like, he had a very shocking game. And all he needs to do is add a few moments, like similar to what Pulisic was doing, outside of scoring the penalty and scoring the free kick, but look dangerous, innit? And I think we win that game. Do you know what I mean? And that's the reason we bought people like Werner and Ziyech. Because Werner and Ziyech are not going to be standing around waiting for things to happen like that. Right. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, though, that being said, with Willian, again, it's going to seem quite harsh because he scored the goals that kept us in the game. It's going to be quite harsh, but I'm not of the type to be judging a player on their goals, especially like I'm just not going to mask an entire performance just if they score goals. I can't do that. You have to assess.
Not off a pen and a free kick. Not off a pen and a free kick.
Yeah, you have to assess the entire performance. And I feel like, yes, the free kick was incredible for me. It was absolutely incredible. But in terms of being a threat, being dangerous, and occupying Cresswell, for me, he didn't do that. Disappointing. But also, I just look at obviously our attack. It never fills me with confidence when we've got an attack with Tammy Abraham, Pulisic, and Willian. Because I never feel that there's enough goals. So yeah, all in all, the performance. But sorry, we're gonna go back. We'll have to talk about the second goal. Sorry, West Ham, their second goal. Good grief. Who again? I think like before we even scored, like before they scored, I tweeted, look, I tweeted about probably like 5 months ago. I tweeted, look, Rudiger and Kepa. If it's not them, it's Alonso. Lo and behold, right? So Alonso,
Holy Trinity of Chelsea mistakes.
his own fuckery was loading, but Rudiger for the second goal, good grief, he fouled Antonio. That could have been a
Thought it was
penalty.
a pen.
That probably would have been a penalty. And then obviously Christensen on the floor. Not Christensen. I mean Antonio's on the floor. Christensen steps over him and steps back, and completely forgets about him. Leaves a gaping hole.
Yeah.
But
What is that?
the problem with that, there are so many errors leading up to that goal. The fact that Rudiger was turned inside out by Antonio so easily is scary.
Oh, move.
It is scary. It is scary. And that happened more than once. In the first half, remember Antonio had that shot where he burst off Alonso and Rudiger. And I'm like, yeah, Antonio's got him on toast. On toast. Embarrassing. And then the goal, I'll discuss that Christensen's reaction and just horrified that Rudiger allowed Antonio to do all that to him. Incredible. Just not good enough.
The thing that's crazy to me is I've seen some people today saying, I mean, we'll talk about the third goal in a second, but the way that Antonio, I mean, as you say, I mean, it was like watching street football, seeing someone get completely embarrassed in a cage where they trip over.
Crazy.
He's done that, and then people going on the last goal, it's hard to defend one-on-one. Rudiger isn't a good one-on-one defender. We know that. We've seen him get dragged into channels and have him try and tackle Zaha or someone. It's embarrassing. And to try and make excuses for him for not doing kind of a fundamental job of a defender, i.e. getting a block in or getting a foot in, is criminal.
It is basic. When people say, you can't stop that, hold on. If you are not being erratic, and I'm not a pro footballer, so I'm just assessing it based relative to decent defenders that have been like 1v1. I remember earlier in the season, because I remember earlier in the season there was a moment, Chelsea versus Liverpool, I'll never forget it, Tomori versus Salah, where Salah was about to come onto his left foot, but Tomori showed him onto his right, all the way out onto the byline and tackled him, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's a 1v1, right? In terms of defensive situations, right? Tomori controlled that situation with his pace, with his speed. But what did Rudiger do? Mate, feel free. Go on to
Charleston.
But the thing is as well, like, even before that third goal, on the second goal, when firstly, obviously Alonso, he's done the hard part in getting there, level with I think it was Bowen. It was, but just, bro, you're there. You're right there. You're in front of him.
Again, so it's like every goal was a calamity. Every single goal was the thing is with me, when it comes to conceding goals, I'm very fair enough. If it's a goal that you can, it's just a great goal, or it's a goal that you can't defend, I'll be like, you know what? Fair enough. Because there are some things that you can accept. But as a fullback, if you are there, you're in the position to block a cross, but you don't. That's a big issue. That's a big issue. How
it's so bad.
Basic rule, look, Jay, obviously you're left back. One of the basic rules of defending is if you're a fullback, you stop the cross. You stop it at source. Because if it gets into the box, anything can happen. And
the thing is, you get roasted as a left back for not being there. So that's what you get roasted for. More time you get roasted for not being there. So if you're not there, and obviously if you're not there, you can't stop the cross. But if you've done the hard part in getting there, you've done the hard part. You've got back. You're there. You're right in front of him. The ball goes through your legs, bro. Through your legs. How? Stop? Look, you're there. Stop the cross. And then to make matters worse. Normally, when a cross comes into the box like that, there's normally a player that's occupying the centre backs, and that's the reason why, like, another player might get there and score. But if you look at Rudiger, Rudiger is not occupying anybody.
No.
He's got nobody to deal with. He's got nobody to deal with. So he's got nobody to deal with, and Christensen's just let Antonio run around the back of him. Has no clue where he is. So in terms of bad defending, again, from 3 players at this level, nah.
But Jay, on Rudiger, if you ever watch him defend like crosses, I was chatting about this on Twitter today. If you watch his body shape, count how many times he checks over his shoulder to see where someone is as a centre back. I literally, this season, in like however many games he played, I might have seen him do it twice. Like, you have to be aware that now that the crosses come in like parallel, there's going to be people behind you. You know, it's not like when you're winning a header from a goal kick and all you've got to deal with is in front of you. He never ever checks his shoulders, and it's like that is what you have to do.
Exactly, and to make it worse, yeah, I know Declan Rice was playing CDM for them, but Declan was doing what our centre back should have been doing for like almost the whole game, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, look,
Yeah.
The whole game.
Declan Rice, because we're linked with him, so I think that was a fantastic audition from him. But let's talk about it. Yeah. So his performance in terms of crosses and stopping crosses, that is exactly what you have to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So not even necessarily screening, because he would tuck into the centre back position and clear.
And he was just clearing it, yeah.
And
he's so aware of where everyone is.
He was checking his like wing mirrors all the time. He was looking all the. So I looked at then the start comparison to what Chris Jensen did for the second goal. Incredible.
Yeah.
Chris Jensen didn't look once until it was too late. So when the ball came in, he quickly checked to see his right. He didn't see him, and then it was too late. It's goal. I'm like thinking, what is happening here? What is actually happening here? Because it's almost like these defenders are defending with an expectation that the left back stops the cross. No, bro. No, that ain't how it works. You defend like the ball's going to come in. If it doesn't come in, fantastic. If it comes in, you're there to deal with it. What are you doing? It's incredible. It's incredible. And obviously the third goal goes in and it's game over. You're seeing Alonso trying to be a striker. Again, the ball breaks down, but the problem is, the ball's in the air. Kante is going up for a header with God knows who. I think it might be the 6'4" midfielder again.
Some absolute tank.
And Alonso sees it because everyone's looking at it, right? So at this point, a smart, an intelligent, or a bothered.
You just start to get back.
You start looking at that and you start making the move. And also you see that your winger that you are marking is starting to make the move, right? What does Alonso do? He makes a movement to go forward. Like, okay, Kante might win this. Are you actually stupid? It's either you're stupid or just not bothered. And I think I'm scared that it's actually both. Because we talk about how lax and how careless he is with his passing. So I'm also starting to think that, you know what? He is lax and careless about defending because he doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to defend.
That's what Ashley Cole said. That's what Ashley Cole said. He's like, you don't want to do it.
He doesn't want to defend. He's literally there to try and make an impact in the final third and score. He does not want to defend, right? So he makes that movement. Immediately that gives I completely forgot his name.
Yarmolenko.
It gives Yarmolenko 5 yards on him. Then it's 10 yards. And Alonso's still not running at this point. We're thinking, what's happening here? He's still not running. By about 10, 15 yards, now we're starting to jog. I'm just thinking, God, goodness me. I'm thinking, oh God, what is happening? Then isn't this a one-on-one? Rudiger doesn't show him down the line. 3-2, game over. And with that, top four is looking very, very difficult now. Again, because I'm assessing the spine of our team in comparison to our competitors and people that we're going up against. It's not looking great. It's not looking great. The only thing that could probably give us some hope now is Leicester's form and the fact that everyone's playing each other and they're going to be taking points off each other because right now it's looking very, very poor. You can only hope, I guess, that we manage to nick a couple of results because it's not looking great at all. Our next game is against, I believe, is it Crystal Palace?
Watford or Palace?
Oh,
Or
we've got
Watford?
Watford. We've got Watford and then Palace. We've got Watford then Palace. That's on
Quick one. Who do you not want to see in the CDM role? Because like, I know we don't really need to talk about Kante too much. I don't think Kante had a lot to do with.
Kante was fine. For me,
Kante
was fine. The only issue with Kante that you know you're going to get is the fact that he's not going to be able to progress play at a speed and at a quality that you want when it comes to breaking teams down. That's fine. I can accept that because I know that the defensive quality he brings and stability is more than enough for me. But in terms of progressing play, he will never give you that. He will never ever give you that. So that's definitely an area to upgrade. It's definitely an area that we could look at to upgrade because I just don't see that Kante being there is a long-term and viable solution unless you get two absolute ballers in midfield that can help, that can drop deep and become the builder, and then move on. Otherwise, this is not going to work.
Interesting to see if we go 3 at the back.
I genuinely feel like 3 at the back is necessary, and I'm just hoping to God that Rudiger's not part of that 3. I'm hoping to God Rudiger's not part of that 3 because it just doesn't make it.
He's gonna be there, bro. He's gonna be there, and this is nasty.
It's incredible.
He's gonna hustle. Hashtag hustle.
You know what it is? It's incredible how a player can make so many mistakes, can be so poor, yet still manages to slip through the net and still manages to start. I can only hope that Frank Lampard watches that game back again and see who's at fault for most of the calamity. I can only hope that because you can't watch that and not think, you know what? Yeah, Rudiger.
It can't warrant another game. Do you get what I'm saying?
You cannot reward that performance with another start. He has been fairly meritocratic, I'd say, through the season. I wouldn't say 100, but fairly meritocratic. If you're looking at what Rudiger has done, even if you think he had like an okay game, the higher level prominent mistakes that he made that led to goals or led to situations happening, he should get dropped. And that's 100%.
And that's what I meant by when obviously I put in the group and I said, I'll be surprised if I see Tammy and I'll be surprised if I see Tammy and Rudiger start again after that. And obviously everybody knows me. I get mad like after games and that when stuff like this happens. So I get onto these players. But the thing is, what I mean by that is not like ever again for the club, but like as in where we've got so many games coming up that are so important and we need our best players on the pitch. When you see a performance like that, that's not even a 1-game ban, bro. That's like you can't be touching pitch for like the next 3 games until you have a good time to think about what you did. Like you can't be coming back.
Jermaine's putting him on the naughty step.
Yeah, man, you can't be coming back 1 game, coming back into the team just because 1 game out, bro. Those mistakes were horrific, absolutely horrific. Rudiger and Alonso definitely should not be within it. Like in the next 2 games, you should not be seeing them. 100% you should not be seeing them.
And again, Emerson had a decent performance against Leicester. So it's just an odd one. It's an odd one. But yeah, we'll see. We've got Watford at home, and then obviously we've got Watford the next game on Saturday, and then we've got Crystal Palace on Tuesday. We're going to be playing, I believe, before Manchester United on the Tuesday. So hopefully we can get up to speed and,
hopefully we're third by Tuesday. Hopefully we're third by Tuesday, innit?
Exactly. Mate, we need back-to-back wins here. If we don't win these 2 games, it's done.
Yeah, if we don't get these 2 wins against Watford and Palace, then top 4 is pretty much done. Because Wolves are, upward trajectory. Manchester United obviously upward trajectory. So things are not looking great for Chelsea. But again, we'll be back next week Thursday, and we'll know the results by then. So thank you guys for joining me. It's been a good one, even though it's been quite negative. I think it was quite insightful.
Been cathartic. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's been quite, because we managed to talk things out and, make sure that the listeners know exactly where the faults lie. And obviously, ultimately, we didn't even mention this, but Frank is not blameless, 1,000,000%. Because
no, he's not.
He picks these players consistently. He picks these players. He picks the team. And obviously, when it comes to tactical setups from set pieces, he is absolutely at fault because this is his setup. And we have never been this poor from set pieces. I feel like under Sarri we were quite poor. Again, when Rudiger and Luiz was playing. But Luiz, because he's a defender that likes to attack the ball when it comes to defensive set pieces and just the defense and crosses, he likes to attack the ball. He masks a lot of the Rudiger deficiencies in the air. But now he's gone, we've got no one there. We've got no one there apart from Zuma, who just doesn't play. So it's just odd. It is odd. I feel like one of the biggest criticisms I do have of Frank is his capacity to completely isolate a player. I don't think that's a good look. He's done it quite a few times and then brought them back in from the cold. I don't think that's necessarily a good look, but I'm hoping that with time he will learn. But yeah, that's it really. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the list. And yeah, hopefully next week, Thursday, we're going to come off with 2 back-to-back wins and a couple United and Wolves drop points. But until then, we'll catch you later. Peace.
Cool.
Cheers, boys.
When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard, last stand,